Welcome to Jesus, fully God and fully man. This week in our Devo times, we have been spending a lot of time recognizing just how human Jesus was and how we can look at his life when he lived on this earth, when he chose to rip into human history and become a part of us, God with us. In those moments, there are things that the Bible teaches us about just how close we can get to God because he understands us more than we could ever know. And today, I want to give you one final thing. And if you missed any of these other devotions, please go back and take a look at them. But one final thing that we can relate to Jesus on, because a lot of times when, and I don't know how you were, when I first became a Christian, I used to say, well, I have trouble identifying with God, right? Because he's God, I'm here, he's up there, I'm down here. So I don't understand how he works. But looking at Jesus' life, if you've seen Jesus, you've seen God. Okay? So this is one thing that we see that Jesus did that we are also instructed to do. And I want to encourage you, this one might be the most important thing that you hear in this devotional series, especially in the timeline that we're living in right now, especially where we are in our country, in our world, with the virus, with all the stuff that's going on. This is what Jesus did. Jesus focused beyond this world. Jesus had a focus beyond this world. Now, we encourage people this. Pastor Mike talks constantly about how as a Christian we ought to constantly be visualizing heaven, how we ought to be thinking about heaven, how we ought to be thinking about, what it's going to be like. And that's a very good meditative practice. And you're like, well, of course Jesus didn't have to do this because he's God. No, Jesus absolutely had to do this. And in fact, for some of the same reasons why we should be doing it. And it says in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2, the writer of Hebrews says that we ought to look unto Jesus, the founder and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated now at the right hand of the throne of God. So what does this all mean? Okay, the thing that I want you to focus on is that Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross. Okay, Jesus did not go to the cross excited to go to the cross. And if you think that, you need to go back and look at some of these other videos. Because Jesus did have humanity about him. He knew, imagine he had the knowledge. Just think about this for a moment, okay? And this should, I really hope that this moves you. Jesus designed the nerve endings in our hands. He knows what skin feels like. Literally, he's the architect. It says in Colossians that through him and by him all things exist and are created. And in John chapter 1, it says, all things were made by him. All right, so we have this idea, okay? He knew what those nails were going to feel like when they were driven through his wrists. He knew that. Not knew it I read somewhere that this is going to be a painful thing. No, he knew what nerve endings were because he was the architect of nerve endings. So why is that important? It's important because here, he knew the cross was going to be horrible. He knew the cross was going to be the worst possible human experience at the time. And he also knew what? The joy that was set before him. What was the joy? The joy was that he was going to be crucified. He was going to die. He was going to be risen. And he was going to be seated at the right hand of the Father for all eternity to reign. And this is, as a Christian, what you should be excited about. You and I are going to be called to endure. We're going to be called to go through a season where we need to endure. The Apostle Paul says that we have to endure like soldiers in wartime. We have to endure. We have to be willing to, just pick up our baggage and take the next step in following Jesus. How do we endure? Because we know what joy is set before us. Because we have a focus that's beyond this world. That's one thing that a Christian has that nobody else does. And you might say, well, other religions do. Sure they do, but I'll tell you the difference. The difference is we have a God that showed us by example what it's like to go through something terrible and come on the other side in complete and total victory. This isn't a hope I have victory. This is I know I have victory because of the resurrection. I know I have victory because the worst possible thing in human history already happened. Jesus died. And the best possible thing in human history already happened. Jesus rose again. And the greatest promise that I could ever hold to is that I am promised the same resurrection and joy that my Savior was given. I have a joy to reign with Christ all eternity. So when you are struggling in the enduring, and you wonder how you're going to come to the other side of things, I want you to think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. I want you to think about Jesus being nailed to a cross. I want you to think about, in his mind, him knowing that this is the worst possible moment that he would ever experience. But the joy ahead makes all of those moments pale in comparison.